All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for another free essay workshop. Today, we are going to focus on focusing on essay strategy. I want to really talk about time savings techniques. I want to talk about really like moving your points, moving your score up from a 55 to a 60 to a 65. Really, like, how do you do that? So that's the kind of stuff I want to focus on today. Also, just the approach for writing essays. I always cover that. There's some introductory stuff at the beginning here that I think if you've been to any of my lectures before, I've talked about it a number of times. So I'm not going to go into it so much, but they will be here so that if you want to watch it later, you can like pause on that slide and take some notes. But today, we're going to talk about essay time management strategies through a torts essay, and also understand how to approach California bar essays. And it's because when you understand the approach, you can apply it, and then you can know, okay, based on that, how do I get more points? How do I save time? How do I make these strategic decisions on what to do? So that's what we're talking about today. This is part of what I've done this. I think I see some familiar people here. I've done a couple of other workshops for this upcoming bar exam. Where I have talked about these exact same issues. So I just want to go over it very briefly. But the biggest thing is that bar graders spend very little time actually reading your essays. They spend about 2 minutes. And one of the things that when people know that, it's kind of bothersome and upsetting a little bit, because you guys study for months and months, or we all work for months at this, and then they spend 2 minutes reading your essay. But bar graders know this essay inside and out. They know it like through and through. It doesn't take them very long to figure out, like, did you hit the issues? Is the right stuff in the right place, etc. So really, you have to make it very easy for them to see those things. So organization is important only to the extent that it makes it easy for the bar grader to see your good work. So that's really what is important. That's what's important. And because people, and I know this because people often will be in, like, I do a ton of one-on-one tutoring with people for the bar, and they're always shocked that I can really look at their essay because I know it inside and out. I know what should be where, I know what facts should be used where, I know what sections need to be written more in depth. And so I can look at it in just 2 minutes and be like, yep, this is good, this isn't good. So that's what you just have to keep in mind. It's very fast that they look at it. Here's some common essay errors. This is something you can come back to, but really, this is a list of 11 errors that people make 11 errors that people make on the bar exam very commonly. And I also have a blog post that goes into detail on this, so you can check that out on the BarMD blog, which is on my website. I can put a quick link here for y'all as well, just so you have it. Or I'll make sure that I put it into the chat at some point in the class to the specific blog post. But here is our blog, just so y'all have it, because we do lots of great articles. Like we have subject specific tips for all of the essay subjects and for all of the MBE subjects. So it's a really great resource for y'all. And I try to focus on tips that you're not going to see. Like, I know all the really common tips, so I try to focus on the tips that aren't as common. All right. So this is the approach to writing bar essays. This is the approach to writing bar essays. Very first thing you do is you check the call of the question. All right. You always start at that. And this is important because if you don't do it, you'll be in the essay and you're like, oh, this is negligence. And you'll really just think negligence. You won't be thinking of all of the other things. So you check the call to question, and then you say, okay, well, what subject am I in? What subject am I in? So you're like, okay, I'm in torts. Great. What are all of the issues that I need to know in torts? And that's step 2. You jot down your subject issue checklist, which I'm going to give it to you for torts today. I'm going to give it to you. Step 3, you read the fact pattern. So you just you go through it. This is what we're used to doing. We're going to do it today, obviously. And then we're going to practice this process. So you read that fact pattern, and then you jot down, or I sometimes call this a list B, but you write your skeletal outline. You write your skeletal outline of your, in the essay, and you do this right in your in your exam soft, write in your actual just exam answer. We're starting to put our exam answer together. I'm going to demonstrate this today. So I know I'm going just sort of giving you an overview, then you're going to see it in action. So we put all of our headings and our subheadings into our actual exam answer. That's step 4. That's step 4. Then we go back through. So what I do is I start at the top, my first heading, and I put my facts from the fact pattern into my actual exam answer under the appropriate heading. And I like to go issue by issue in my exam answer, just start typing in the facts that are relevant to that issue. And I type them really basically exactly as they're written in the fact pattern. And I'm trying to find a home for every single fact. So I'm trying to find a home for every single fact. And that is key to getting a high scoring answer, just to really passing. That is often the difference between a 60, 65, 65, 70 is really your fact use. That's really the difference. Step 6, triage. This is where we get to your time management. This is where we get to your time management. This is where you identify where the points are. And I'm going to give you some tips on identifying where the points are when we get into this essay. Then, so we're going to triage, we're going to identify what are our big issues? Where are all, what's the issue that has a ton of points? What are the issues that are going to take me a lot of time? What issues can I do away with really quickly? What issues am I just going to get in and out of because they're really straightforward and easy, or they're small, like intentional torts are pretty small issues. So with those, I'm not going to break it apart, right? We're going to talk about how to, knowing how to organize. You guys all know IRAC, right? Everybody knows IRAC, right? Issue, rule, application, conclusion. So you're supposed to IRAC, and we talk about breaking things apart, doing a sub-IRAC to break apart each element, give an IRAC for each element. You don't always have time to do that. How many of you have run out of time? How many of you have run out of time on a bar essay? Tell me in the chat. Yeah, Kyrie, yeah. Just type it in the chat there. Can you guys chat? Never? That's great. Good, Hars. Well, good. You shouldn't be running out anymore. Yeah, always. Yeah, it's a huge, huge, huge issue. Huge issue. This is, I think, like most people on the bar exam, this is what happens, because the bar exam is really the thing that makes it really difficult. One, there's obviously a lot of information you have to know, but the bar exam and bar exam essays is it's like playing speed chess, right? It's a complicated game. It's a complicated thing. And you're also competing against a clock. So that's what makes it challenging, I think, is that clock. So we want to really make sense of, how do I just rack up those points? Then once you're done with triaging, then that's when you actually are finished. You're really focused on the writing. And really, this is like putting in your rules and converting just the facts into analysis. All right. All right. I'm going to give you your subject issue checklist for torts now. All right. So torts, it's just 7 categories. And I think of this as, God, I need to pass this dang stupid exam. I'm going to type it in the chat. Yeah, you can't do that. So that's my mnemonic. God, I need to pass this dang stupid exam. That's my mnemonic. That's everything for torts, right? Your general issues that we have, right? General issues, joint and several liability, vicarious liability. So those general issues. Intentional torts, that's all of your intentional torts. Negligence, that's your big one. That's your big one. Negligence is really the biggest category that's tested in torts. It's often either multiple negligence analyses or negligence plus something else. So it'd be like negligence plus intentional torts, negligence with negligence per se and vicarious liability. So negligence is really big. Products liability, also a big one. I did a podcast episode walking through how to approach that on an essay that just came out yesterday. So give that a listen if you have any trouble with products liability. Then we have defamation and privacy torts. That's another big one. Strict liability. That's really abnormally dangerous animals and activities. This usually is actually a smaller issue when it's tested. So you'll see this. Sometimes I've seen like a negligence essay with strict liability. And then your extra torts. So these are your smaller ones. It's your intentional interference with business relations, malicious prosecution, abuse of process, nuisance, stuff like that. Nuisance actually was tested somewhat. It was tested more recently as well, I believe. Somebody has mentioned that in the chat earlier. When was the last time torts was tested? All right, so this is your subject issue checklist. I do have a course where we cover essays and we go really, really in depth into everything. And I give like deeper issue checklists, etc. So I give a deep issue checklist for every subject. Oh, that's awesome, Rand. That's great. That's really, really good. So I just want to mention that the course, it just started. So it just started this weekend. We just had one class so far, but we have all of these remaining classes coming up where we cover all of the subjects. They're mostly on Saturdays at 10 a.m. And you get a huge, huge archive of past essays that I've taught, overview of every subject, analysis formulas, etc. I don't give all this stuff in my free workshops, but I do give a lot in here. And I love doing these. But we really focus on like how to write, how do you do the analysis, etc. So just wanted to mention that that is currently going on. And I also have an essay book coming out in just a few days with templates and analysis, templates and it's not just templates on, like rules and stuff. It's really like, it's a template for how do you write every bit of analysis for every topic. Maybe not every single tiny little potential topic, but really every topic that basically that's tested on the CalBAR in every single subject. So I have been laboring over that for months and months. So that is coming out in just a couple of days. So be on the lookout for that. I'm super, super excited about it. All right. And we do have, if you haven't checked that out yet, I have a whole free chapter that is on torts that you can check out by clicking on that link that I just put in the chat. So definitely check that out because it'll give you a sample. And that way we also can let you know when the book comes out in just a few days. All right. Y'all ready to get into doing a torts essay? Yeah. I feel like I can sense the excitement even though I can't hear you or see you. All right. So let me give you this essay. Rob and George, you guys are very excited. I love it. So we're going to do this brutal torts essay that I'm putting in the chat so you can have a look at it. The classic July 2010. It is just a doozy. Let me get this open. All right. Okay. Do you guys remember what I just said was the issue checklist for torts? Do you remember the mnemonic? Type it in the chat. Type it in the chat. Do it as a DM just to me. No, what's the issue checklist for torts specifically? Good, Brooke. Good. Do you remember what it stands for? Good, Kyrie. Good, Brooke. And then somebody asked also for the registration link for the course. So I just put that in the chat. Good, Hars. Good, Kirthi. And if you want to listen to the podcast I did, and I would appreciate if you guys subscribe. I hate saying that, but I do appreciate it a lot because it helps me, get more people listening and all of that. And it's totally free. So super fun for bar stuff. All right. So gotta need to pass this dang stupid exam. What does it stand for? General issues, intentional. Hi, Marta. Negligence, the pass, products liability, defamation plus privacy, strict, and then extra. Okay. So here, good, Kyrie, good. All right, so it says under what theory? So now we're going to do the steps. Under what theory or theories, if any, might patron bring an action for damages against homeowner, burglar, or cinema? So it doesn't expressly tell me that I'm in torts, but the fact, and it usually won't, but a fact that you have P bringing an action for damages against multiple people, but against defendants, that indicates that we're in torts land. So I would jot down my issue checklist. In reality, so your issue checklist, right? Like what this is designed to do is to help you to see more issues and to help you just think broadly. I need you to think broadly when you're in the exam. The problem is like, if you see, like on this fact pattern, it says homeowner kept a handgun on his bedside table in order to protect himself against intruders. A statute provides that. I'm like, oh, I'm in negligence. That's negligence per se. And then you start thinking negligence and negligence per se, and you don't start thinking really broadly. And like, I'm going to show you this. I'm going to show you this as we go through this essay. All right. So I know I'm in torts. I jot down my issue checklist. So then let's read this fact pattern. Let's read this fact pattern. Okay. Homeowner kept a handgun on his bedside table in order to protect himself against intruders. All right. Nothing really triggered, no legal issue triggered by the facts there. A statute provides that all firearms must be stored in a secure container that is fully enclosed and locked. So I know he keeps it on the nightstand. So this looks like this is a statute. It's a private action. So I'm thinking negligence with negligence per se. And I have to remember that I have 3 claims. So it's patron v. homeowner, patron v. burglar, patron v. cinema. All right. So burglar broke into homeowner's house while homeowner was out and stole the handgun. So I say, okay, well, the homeowner just left this gun out, but now burglar got it, right? Burglar got it, and that's problematic. So we have an intentional third-party actor, which makes me think that might cut off the chain of causation unless it's foreseeable that he was going to do that. So burglar subsequently used the handgun in an attack on patron in a parking lot belonging to cinema. So it's in a parking lot, so that's land. So it belongs to cinema. So I'm thinking there, okay, that's landowner duties. So that's a landowner. So I'm thinking again, negligence. So it looks like I have 2 negligence causes of action so far. Patron had just exited cinema around midnight. So I'm thinking, okay, well, she's leaving the movies late at night, which fine, that's okay. But some people see that and they're like, okay, you're leaving a movie theater alone late at night. Maybe are you being contributorily negligent? Some people say that, but really not. But it's something to raise. Patron had just exited cinema around midnight after viewing a late movie. During the attack, but that also tells us that she's an invitee, right? Because she's there for a commercial purpose. We should know that because it's a cinema, which is a business, but still. During the attack, a burglar approached patron and demanded that she hand over her purse. So that I'm thinking, okay, so he demands that she hand over her purse. Patron refused. Burglar drew the handgun, pointed it at patron, and stated, "You made me mad, so now I'm going to shoot you." There's an assault, right? There's a statement, and he points a gun at her. There's the apparent ability to carry out the threat. Patron fainted out of shock and suffered a concussion. Burglar took her purse and fled. So there's trespass to chattel, potentially conversion, but was later apprehended by the police. So maybe they got it back. I don't know. Cinema had been aware of several previous attacks on its customers in the parking lot at night during the past several years, but provided no lighting or security guard. So that's like, okay, what should they have done? What would a reasonably prudent cinema have done? So, all right. So now that was step 3. We just read through the facts. So now I want to start putting in my issues for each of these. So homeowner is really negligence. There's negligence per se. With negligence, what are all of my headings? So duty, under duty, I talk about Andrews, Cardozo, duty, Andrews, I have Cardozo. That's really is a duty owed. And then I have breach. I have breach, negligence per se. Oh, I also need what's the relevant standard of care. Okay, and then breach. And then I'm like, okay, well, there's also negligence per se because there's a statute. Causation. right? We need both actual and proximate damages and then defenses. So I'm like, ooh, there's a lot here, right? There's a lot there. Patron v. burglar. What intentional torts do y'all see? Send them to me in the chat. Just right off the bat. If you've done this essay before, don't say it though. Or tell me if you have. Good, Pasha. So I see a battery, assault, IIED. What else? Anybody have any other torts that they see? Any other intentional torts? Trespass to chattel, trespass to land. Oh, not trespass to land, because there's no trespass to land here. Yeah, assault, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Yeah. Is there a robbery here? Why or why not? Trespass to chattel, we got that. No, that's okay, Pasha. There was a taking. They took the purse via force. Conversion. Because this is claims against burglar. This is patron's claims against burglar. So that's why it's not a trespass to land. So you have to keep the parties straight, which is one of the challenges here. Yeah. Why not a robbery? I'll talk about that, Rob. Because it's a civil action. That's correct. Robbery isn't torts. But so many people write about robbery on this essay. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But people write about it all the time, especially in the pressure of an exam, right? People write about it. Like I've seen people, I had a person, a former student who wrote about in the exam who it was a negligence essay and they wrote about intentional negligence, which isn't a thing. Like people do funny things under the stress of a test. We all have done it. All right, good. So, but what are all of the intentional torts? What are all of the intentional torts and how many battery and assault are here? What is the battery for? What was the touching for the battery? The purse was touching her. What else? Did anybody see another one? What about the fact that she fainted and she hit the ground? He caused that. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So somebody said concussion as a result of pointing the gun. Yeah. What are all the intentional torts? This is why we have a list A, touching the purse as a battery because it's connected to her. What are all of our intentional torts? We got assault, battery, IIED, false imprisonment, trespass to land, and chattel, and conversion, right? What about false imprisonment? What about false imprisonment? Could she leave? Could she run off? You can be bounded even without an actual boundary, right? Because she can't leave because he's pointing a gun at her. If she tries to run, he's going to shoot her, in theory. This is why we have a list A. We want to think very broadly. So that's one way to just get points is when you're jotting down your issue check, when you're jotting down your like skeletal outline, or what I call a list B, which I didn't make up, that comes from a book that I cannot remember the name of, but I will figure it out. It's to help you think really broadly, to run through it. So this is, you spot another issue there. Okay, and then what about cinema? Still negligence, right? Negligence, right? But do I need to break it down as much like I did before? No, right? Because I've already broken it all down above. So negligence, I'm just going to do duty, breach, and standard of, this as a special, I want to focus really on the standard of care. And this is landowner, duty to invitee, breach, causation, I'm not going to break it down, damages, defenses. And like, it's all going to be C rule above. Okay, so let's start putting in our facts. So y'all following along, okay? So now I've spotted the issues, I've broken it down, I've put in my headings and my subheadings, and I just see that there's a lot going on here, right? In a perfect world, like, and this is something I talk about in the essay book that's coming out. If you guys have seen, the sample, it's in one thing that I do is I show you, okay, ideally for every intentional tort, I would do intent, what is the act, which is like the specific intentional tort, intent, causation. So here, potentially causing a harmful or offensive contact to the plaintiff's, oh my God, I can't type, person, but we don't really fix typos for the bar. And I would break it up and do all of, break it up for every single intentional tort. Have you guys been taught to like break up and do sub-IRACs for everything? Did you do that in law school? Do you do that when you're like, maybe wanting to practice? Yeah. Do you have time to do it here? No. Part of the reason we like lay all this out and look at what are all the issues first is to identify, I've got so many issues here, I don't have time for this. So for all of my intentional torts, I'm doing a single IRAC. All right. Because I have so many issues in here. I have 2 full-on negligence analyses. That's going to take me, for this whole pre-writing process, which we are in, we just did step 4. It's all like a 20-minute process, 15 to 20-minute process. That's it. And then you actually start, then you start writing your analysis. So here, I'm not going to have time to break down all of these things. If there is a particular, issue here, I might do like one little subheading here with respect to like one particular element, but I might do most of battery. I'd give my rule, I would do my analysis. And then let's say that I want to talk about, was there a touching? So I might talk about, just break that element out here and do one little thing to call the bar grader who's reading it for 2 minutes. I want them to see that I got that there was ambiguity regarding a touching under the battery for the theft of the purse, because this is he's not touching her person, he's touching something intimately associated with her. So you might do something like that. So that's one thing to think about. That's one reason to like think through your answer ahead of time. But let's get back to this. Let's now go on and we're going to do step 5, and we're going to place all the facts under the fact pattern. So for negligence, Andrews, duty is owed to everybody. So one of the things for negligence that you have to think about is, what is the negligent thing that each defendant did? So what's the negligent thing that homeowner did here? Tell me in the chat. Left his gun out. Yeah, left his gun out. So Andrews, was patron harmed by it? Not that he didn't follow the statute, right? Because that doesn't necessarily apply. It's really that he left his gun on the table. So here, Andrews is owed a duty to anyone injured by the defendant's conduct. So P was injured by H leaving gun on table. So I'm just typing in my facts. In Cardozo, there's 3 things you have to address in Cardozo. So it's, for Cardozo, a duty is owed. So let me actually take one step back. Under duty, we're talking about, is a duty owed, yes or no? And a duty is owed to all foreseeable plaintiffs. And the difference between Andrews and Cardozo is defining who is foreseeable. That's defining who is foreseeable. So under Andrews, Andrews says you're foreseeable if you were injured by the defendant's conduct. So it's owed to everybody, basically. Cardozo says you're foreseeable if you were injured, if you were within the zone of danger created by the defendant's conduct. So you have to know, where is the zone of danger? Let me type this in the chat. 1, where is the zone of danger? 2, how did D, or here 8, the defendant, create the zone of danger? And 3, was plaintiff within the zone of danger? So it's those 3 things, just by parsing out that one sentence, right? It's those 3 things. A lot of people don't realize this. So here, where is the zone of danger? So this is a gun, right? The dangerous thing is the gun, and that it was left unlocked. So you can take that gun anywhere. So the zone of danger is anywhere the gun could be taken. A lot of people see this and they think that it's just the house. That's not the case, because you can take a gun anywhere, right? You have to think about that when you look at, like, what is a dangerous thing? If I undercook chicken wings and serve them at a restaurant, the zone of danger is anywhere that somebody could eat the chicken wings, right? So it's very broad. Okay. Zone of danger is anywhere the gun could be taken. DH created the zone of danger by leaving his handgun on the nightstand, and P was within the zone of danger because B threatened her with the gun. And I'm not really fixing typos here. I fix it like if I catch it as I'm doing it, but otherwise I'm leaving it, and that's intentional. You also notice I don't turn my, I have my spell check turned off, and that's intentional because I don't want to be spending time fixing stuff, really. And you all should be writing essays closed note and timed now. You shouldn't be waiting to do that. You should write them closed note timed right away, and turn your spell check off, because that can help save you some time. So what's the standard of care? Nothing indicates there's any sort of special duty, so it's a reasonably prudent person. So what would a reasonably prudent person do? Yeah, RPP, good. And here, all you do for standard of care is tell me what a reasonably prudent person would do. We're not analyzing or talking about the homeowner here. I'm not talking about the defendant here. I'm talking about what would a reasonably prudent person do in this scenario. Yeah, and keep firearms secured. A reasonably prudent person would keep firearms secure, right? Breach. H left, or let me say, kept his handgun on his bedside table, which means he didn't keep it secure. Negligence per se. All right. So we have the 3 components. A lot of times, this is another thing. Well, I'm going to get back to this in a second. Okay. Is there a violation of a statute? There's 3 pieces here, right? Violation of a statute. The plaintiff belongs to the class of person the statute was trying to protect, and the plaintiff suffered the type of harm the statute tried to prevent. So 3 elements. All right. So, yeah, 3 elements. So H did not keep handgun in a secure container. He left it on his nightstand. Patron, now here you want to think a little bit. What facts here? The patron fainted and suffered a concussion. So that's the injury. So what type of who are they trying to protect, and what are they trying to prevent? So that's going to take a little bit of inferential reasoning. I'm going to get back to that. Okay, cause what facts go towards actual cause? I would just say patron used, this is really but for. So here you have to focus on the but for causation, right? So what's the negligent thing that homeowner did? So H kept his handgun on bedside table and not in a secure container. And then what's the injury? Patron fainted and suffered a concussion. All right. Are you all following along okay? So I'm just typing in the facts. And I like to start at the top and go issue by issue and go down. All right. Proximate cause. I want to talk about proximate cause for a second, right? For proximate causes, we're talking about, was the injury foreseeable, right? You're liable for all foreseeable injuries. How do we know what's foreseeable? How do we know it's foreseeable? So the injury is foreseeable if yeah, Rob, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. If the harm is within the, you have to focus on the homeowner. Increased risk created by the defendants. I'm giving you a rule now, even though we're not typing in rules. I just want to talk about this. If the harm is 1, within the increased risk created by the defendant's conduct, and 2, a normal incident of the defendants. So I'm just talking about that. So I want us to think about that. And I'm going to come back to that. But here, this is how, so you're always focused on the defendant here. A lot of people get thrown off here. They mix up the people. And so here we have to focus on just this defendant, right? But we have an intentional third-party actor. So burglar is the one who threatened patron. Okay, so we have that. We're going to come back to that though. Damages, did she suffer damages? Yes, she suffered a concussion. Her purse was also stolen. Defenses, I hate it, but she was leaving the cinema late at night. After viewing a late night movie. Okay. Here, there's probably a lot of the same facts, right? So burglar, now we have like the burglar facts, battery, theft of the purse. So burglar approached patron and demanded that she hand over her purse. Patron refused. Burglar drew the handgun, pointed it at patron and stated, "You made me mad, so now I'm going to shoot you." Not a very nice guy. Patron fainted out of shock and suffered a concussion. Okay. So here I have all of this, battery for that. This suffered a concussion. So that's the fainting. I'm also going to add burglar took P's purse and fled. So that's the touching with the purse. I can copy some of these facts in. I am going to change this. I rarely actually do copy and paste of anything because it leads to errors, but I'm going to go through it. IIED, it's really the same facts. Trespass to chattel. Burglar took P's purse and fled. Burglar was later apprehended by police. Conversion, it's really the same thing. So here I'm like, these can go together. And they usually can under a single heading. False imprisonment. Okay. I'm getting all my facts in here, right? So now I've got the facts under each of these. And we're going to take these facts and we're going to turn them into analysis. But let's get the last bit in. Everybody following along, okay? Can I just get some like yeses or some comments in the chat just to know if you guys need me to like cover, review something, I'm happy to. Okay, I just want to get, okay, cool. Okay, so let's put these last facts in here. Let's put the last facts in here. Okay. All right. Good, good, good. All right. Negligence duty. What's the negligent? Where's the zone of danger here? Where's the zone of danger here? It's the parking lot. What's the negligent thing that Cinema did or didn't do? Right? Cinema, did I say this? The Cinema's been aware of several previous attacks, but provided no lighting or security guard. Okay. Provided guard. Did I read that part out loud when we looked at it earlier? I might have left it out. Yeah, no lights. Okay. So their parking lot, provided no light or security guard. Right? Standard of care, landowner duty to invitee. So here, Cinema had been aware of several previous attacks on its customers in the parking lot at night during the past several years, but provided no lighting or security guard. Okay. And actually, it's really that they were aware of it. It's really this. So Cinema, and I'm going to say Cinema owns. All right. Can you guys hear me okay? Because I just got like an internet connection is unstable notice. Okay, cool. Thank you. Just like to double check. I always pause when I see that. All good. All right. So breach, provided no security guard or lighting, causation, right? Again, here we have, burglar attacked. We'll just leave it at that. Damages, concussion, defenses. It's really the same as above. Okay. All right. So we've got facts in here. Now, what I want y'all to do is we want to go through the fact pattern. This is one way. So I've got all my facts in here. I've got facts for every issue, right? I've got facts for every issue. I want to go back through my fact pattern and double check to make sure that I've used every single fact and that I understand where there is multiple facts in a single sentence, that I'm addressing all of it. All right. So we want to make sure that we're finding a home for every single fact in the fact pattern. So have I placed this fact in the fact pattern? Do I understand the significance? So homeowner kept a handgun on his bedside table. I do have that, but it's in order to protect himself against intruders. So it's in order to protect himself against intruders. I think that goes toward proximate cause. I think so here, because it's burglary, is an intervening third-party actor, but if it's foreseeable that somebody might come and steal it, right, then it doesn't cut off the chain of causation. So H kept the handgun on the bedside table to protect against intruders. So I'm going to go through this. Okay, so now I've placed there, because there was a fact that I had not written, that I hadn't included yet. So I want to make sure I use all the facts. Every fact is important. It's there for a reason. It's there for you to use. None of these facts are red herrings. So a statute provides, did I put the negligence per se? I forgot to put this in here. So statute provides that all firearms must be stored in a secure container that is fully enclosed and locked. Okay, so there's that. So now I've used this fact is in here. I was basically using it before, but I want to actually include everything. Burglar broke into homeowner's house while homeowner was out and stole the handgun. The fact that there is an and there indicates that there are two facts. So burglar broke into his house. So this I'm going to include in my proximate cause. So B broke into H's house while homeowner was out. B stole the handgun. So I'm separating that into two little sentences there so that I use every little fact. So now I've used everything. I have everything here. Berger subsequently used the handgun in an attack on patron, and I'm going to use that. So it was H's handgun that was used. I want to make sure that I actually, do I need to necessarily use that? I mean, you want to use every single fact in the fact pattern. It's not a new legal issue, but it again goes to show that there was causation. So there was actual, I'm going to say this, patron fainted, B used H's gun in the attack on patron. Let's just say P. That, okay. I did say earlier that it was in a parking lot, that the parking lot belongs to cinema. Okay. Patron had just exited the cinema around midnight after viewing a late movie. I do use that in the defenses. During the attack, burglar approached patron and demanded that she hand over her purse. So there's the demand. So that's like IIED, pointing the gun might be IIED, demanding that she hand over her purse. You know, that, so there's a demand there that might not, you could also maybe say that that's an assault, right? That just this first demand, because then patron refused, and burglar drew the handgun, pointed it at patron and stated, "You made me mad, so now I'm going to shoot you." So I do have these in here, but I'm thinking, am I really explaining the significance of all of these facts? So I'm like, well, there might be actually like a second assault, but he doesn't threaten her, but he does demand that she hand over her purse. So I think I could maybe actually do another assault here. So B demanded that P hand over her purse. So that's probably not, but I see, I'm like, well, that could be potentially, but that's something I might raise and dismiss. Otherwise, I don't really use this fact. Oops. Patron refused. Is that also contributory negligence? Maybe. Burglar drew the handgun, pointed at patron. I did use all this. I did use that. I used all of this. Do you guys see how now that I'm going through and double checking that I'm using, that I'm like, did I use this fact? Did I use this fact? Is it in here? And I know that this takes a little bit of time, but I'm going to show you how fast it is to write your analysis once you've placed all the facts and you've thought through this stuff. Because the thing is when you are in an essay and you like just start going, you don't have a process or an approach. When you do that, you're not, I know that like you feel good because you started to write, but how many of you guys have been in an essay, you start to write and then you look at the clock and you're like, oh my God, I have 5 minutes left. Does that happen to you guys? Yeah. Right. I know that happens. Yeah. It's always happens. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, hey, what? Yeah. So that always happens. So you do this, when you do this, you're getting all of the thinking done up front, and then you just focus on the writing. And when you put the facts in, you are making sure that that you're getting all the points, and you're making sure that you don't have to go back and dig in the fact pattern anymore. When we're done with this, when we're done putting the facts in, we're just focused on our answer, and I'm just literally doing typing and like just typing and like flying through it a bit. Okay, patron fainted out of shock and suffered a concussion. So here, like there's an and, so she fainted out of shock, right? IIED, maybe extreme emotional distress, suffered a concussion, personal injury. Burglar took her purse and he fled. He was later apprehended by the police. I'm going to use that for conversion. Yeah, I do have that. And then I have all of this stuff about cinema. Cinema had been aware of several previous attacks on its customers in the parking lot at night during the past several years, but provided no lighting or security guard. So they talk about the lighting and they mention the security guard. So like a better answer would talk about like, you could have done one or the other and you don't do anything, or you don't have to do both. You could have just done something and you've done nothing, right? Which is the problem. Okay. All right. So now I've got all my facts in here. Then I'm going to just take my answer. I'm not looking at the fact pattern anymore. You can put it away. You do not need it because we've gotten everything out of it. So now I want you to go back and look at this and say, okay, what are all the issues here? Where are my facts? Well, it's going to take me a lot of time. What are the things that I sort of struggle with? Proximate cause is usually where people have a hard time. So I think there's some ambiguity here. Where do I have a counter argument? Where do I have a counter argument? Probably in proximate cause. I think it's a little bit ambiguous where if there's negligence per se here, because like usually with a gun, we think of a gunshot wound, but there's not a gunshot here, right? Sorry, I'm going to shift back. Give me 1 second, everybody. Sorry. I'm going to move just because my back hurts from sitting like that. Okay. All right. So identify the areas where I have counter argument, where there's some ambiguity. And then this is a really, really big time-saving tip. There's a lot going on here. And you notice that I have not yet typed in any of my rules, right? That's very intentional, because if you are running out of time, the thing to omit is your rules, because you demonstrate your law knowledge. You demonstrate your law knowledge with your analysis. So I can demonstrate that I know the law by writing a great analysis. So I want to focus on doing that. So then I'm going to decide, okay, I'm going to look at this. Let's say it's taking me 20 minutes to do this, right? 20 minutes to put everything in. Then I'm going to say, okay, so I've got 40 minutes left. I've got 40 minutes left. It's probably going to take me 15 minutes to get through the whole first negligence analysis. Then it's going to take me maybe 15 minutes to get through all of those intentional torts, especially because I just caught another one. And then, so that's 30 minutes, and then 10 minutes to get through that last negligence analysis, because I don't have to type in any of the rules. So you're not just like starting at the top and going really detailed, putting in all of your rules, etc. I'm like, all right, I'm going to think through how much time do I spend on, these big issues, and where are the points, right? There's a ton of points here because there's negligence with negligence per se. There's so many intentional torts here. And then I have another negligence analysis. But you look and see how it's not nearly as like in depth and detailed. I don't have as many facts down here. That's okay, right? That's like part of why we do this, is so I know that there's not as many points here, but I do still probably need to save about 10 minutes to get to that. So we want to this is triaging. This is triaging, right? So that's what we're doing. This is how we get those points. So I've got the points because I've used every fact. I'm not going to run out of time because I'm thinking strategically in advance, right? I'm thinking strategically in advance. I'm thinking, where are my counter arguments, etc. And now I'm going to just go start typing. I'm going to start typing. So negligence, right? And like, how many of you, I'm not going to give you guys all my tips, everything, because I do teach classes and stuff. But rules, you shouldn't be memorizing like crazy, beautiful rule statements. My rules are always like quick and dirty. So a defendant is liable for negligence when there is duty, breach, causation, and damages. That's it. Duty. I obviously know my rules cold to foreseeable plaintiffs. Who is foreseeable depends on whether you are in an Andrews or Cardozo jurisdiction. No, it's only discussed in somebody asked if negligence per se is discussed only in patron v. homeowner, and it is, because that's the only statute that's been violated. So in Andrews, a plaintiff is foreseeable if they are injured by the defendant's conduct. Here, P was injured by H's conduct because every single sentence of analysis will have a because with some of the rule from the rule statement and the buzzwords, those facts that I typed in. So let me go back. Okay, so I had my fact in here, right? So I'm like, okay, what am I trying to prove? I'm trying to prove that under Andrews, the plaintiff was injured by the defendant's conduct. So it's always here, buzzwords because facts, basically. And I lay all of this out in my book that's coming out in a few days, which we will email you all about when it's released, that I'm super excited about. But I'm just I start here, buzzwords for my rule. So injured by the defendant's conduct Monday was supposed to come out Friday, but then I didn't want to be like off on a weekend and people buying it and not have support. So it's on Monday, and we'll email y'all. So here, P was injured by H's conduct because P was injured by H leaving the gun on the table. That's it. I know, so was I would. And then conclusion. Thus, a duty is owed under Andrews. Boom. Cardozo. A duty is owed under Cardozo when the plaintiff was in the zone of danger created by the defendant's conduct. So 3 components here. The zone of, well, I already sort of said it. The zone of danger is anywhere the gun could be taken because it's a gun, it's a handgun. H created the zone of danger by, or you could say because he left. He left his handgun on the nightstand for B to steal. He was within the zone of danger because B threatened her with the gun. Standard of care. The defendant owes a standard of care of to act as a reasonably prudent person. Here, a reasonably prudent person would keep firearms secure. And I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, plus there's a statute, especially when a statute requires them to do so. Why? Because guns are dangerous weapons. And this is the only, standard of care is the only place I don't have a conclusion because it's really sort of built in. Notice here, this does not mention the parties. It doesn't. Because then when you do standard of care and you say, what would a reasonably prudent person do? Then breach is really simple. A defendant breaches when he fails to conform his conduct to the applicable standard of care. Here, H failed to conform his conduct to the applicable standard of care because H kept his guns on the bedside table, and as established above, an RPP would secure the gun. Thus, H breached. So you see how fast it is to write the analysis because I've thought through all the issues. I've obviously written this essay maybe 100 times, but so I get that it's a little faster for me and I know my rules cold, right? Which I should be if I'm teaching you guys how to do this, but I've done all my thinking. I'm not stopping and pausing and thinking. So that's why you triage. That's why you go back and check through the fact pattern to make sure you've used everything. You think about where are the counter arguments, etc. And like you can do this. So what I'm going to challenge everybody, I'm going to challenge all of you. I have done this. I used to be a professor at a law school. I did that for years. But now I thankfully get to just do this full time. I want you all to do an essay. And I want you to follow this process to the T. Follow it to the T. All right. And I don't care if you take maybe give yourself 30 minutes. Maybe give yourself 30 minutes to go through the first 6 steps. Okay. And then give yourself 40 minutes. So I'm going to give you 10 extra minutes. I'm going to give you 10 extra minutes to do this. Make sure you've got all your facts in the fact pattern. Fine. You're done with that. Put the fact pattern away and you will finish that essay in 40 minutes. right? Make sure you know the rules, right? I don't want you looking anything up. Make sure it's like this, where it's like, you know, negligence per se. You could do, you know what essay you should do is do this with the July 2014 torts essay. Do it with the July 2014 torts essay. That's a great one. All right. And you will see, put the fact pattern away. You will see that when you put it away, you've got everything you need right in front of you, and you're just going, typing everything in. And that's it. All right, everybody. So I'm not going to, you know, just write everything out because that would be pretty boring, but that's what you do. So time-saving tips, that's how you use this process to save yourself time. If you like this, I go over tons and tons of essays. I talk about essay-specific strategies or subject-specific strategies in my in the full course that we have, which I'll put a link to here in just a second. It just started this past weekend, so you can totally still sign up. And we have two options. We have a recorded version if you can't join live, and we have a live option. Definitely needs a lot of practice, but there are tons of essays to practice with from my class and in the course. Also, I have an essay book coming out that walks through this process, and then I give you templates showing you how to write the analysis for every single topic. So that's coming out. It is launching on Monday. I'm super, super excited about it. That book will be $149. So it'll be $149, and it is awesome. And yeah, and I talk about like strategies for like every single topic, basically. So tips, because I've been tutoring and doing this stuff for years. I also have a couple of people contributing to it that have also been doing this stuff for years, with all of our tips on like what rules can you leave out if you tend to run out of time. Let me stop sharing. What rules can you omit if you tend to run out of time? What, yeah, just lots and lots of issues that people tend to run into, how to organize, all sorts of stuff. So it doesn't have like essays with model answers and stuff in it. Instead, it's really focused on how would I write every single issue. So it's literally analysis templates. It's different. It's not just like heading and rule templates. It is that, but it also has basically like fill in the blank with your analysis, so that you know what are all the elements you need to analyze, etc. And yeah, George, you can have access to it till 2024. Absolutely. Somebody asked about how much time you should spend on each step 1 through 7. So read the call. The question is very fast. The 7 steps are really the 6 steps are about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. And many of the steps are fairly quick. I would say I don't give a time allocation for each, just because it's really like one whole process. But the steps that take the time are putting in your headings and subheadings. That takes a few minutes for me, maybe 3-4 minutes. Putting in the facts is really what takes the time. So I would say putting in the facts, is maybe like 8 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, something like that. And like another like 5 minutes with about another 5 minutes probably triaging, so something like that. So all of that is about 20 minutes. Kyrie, when you say do I go over PTs, I do. I have a PT course that is separate. We also have a bundle of them together, so if you want to do the essays and the PTs, that's our core program. But we also have a PT book. So if you were asking about a book, I do have that, and I can show you guys that if you want to see it. Or I don't know if y'all have seen it before. Oops. Just give me 1 second. And the book that's coming out, it's a digital book. It's digital. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's digital. So, and the one that's coming out is also digital. Let me just show y'all. So like in here, and I do this for the essay book too. So give me 1 second. I don't know why I do this. There's a table of contents, but so here, like I walk you through doing the analysis. I give you examples. I give you formulas for writing the analysis. Here's a study schedule for the PTs specifically. Lots and lots of templates. I walk you through like every component. Here's templates for writing analysis for the PT book, plus also like I do it color coded as well. So really walking you through everything. How do you write the analysis? So yeah. Thanks, Endurance. I'm so glad you like it. Yeah. It's a labor of love. I had so much fun writing it. And I'm actually going to update it for those of you that have it. Because it's digital, I can upload and like add to it even while you guys have it seamlessly. Like you'll never lose your access to it. And when I do that, so like I'm going to add the February 2023 my step-by-step PT analysis too. So that'll be in there as well. All right, everybody, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you all have any questions, feel free to email us at hello@bar-md.com. Yes, I do. So if you're handwriting for the PT or the essays, if you're doing the essay, what you do instead is you just like on a piece of scratch paper, you jot out your headings and subheadings, just shorthand, and you just shorthand annotate what facts go where, and then you go. So you sort of follow that, what I type in, you sort of sketch that out on a piece of scratch paper and think through everything and then go and actually write. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a really great evening. And thanks, Marta. I'm so excited. Thanks, Haley. I love doing this stuff. So I have a lot of fun teaching this stuff. All right. We're so excited for you guys to study and for you guys to pass the bar. I always say just like pass and go on and do good things. So good luck. Good luck. And A Brooks, I have an MPT book coming out really quickly here too. It's coming out in about a couple weeks. So just be on the lookout for that too. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks, Christopher. Thank you. Bye. Good night, Hars.